Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to First Yahudin Messianic Temple here in Lake Placid, Florida. I am his servant, Maria Simpson, and once again, we are together, and thank you for inviting us to your home, cell, wherever it is that you're listening to this message, or even in your car. I thank you. The reason I brought this message, and really it is titled Negative Forces in Marriage, is because there is a huge amount of problems in marriages. And I believe that a lot of married couples don't even know what the purpose of marriage is. This negative force that I'm talking about, it really started in the beginning of creation when Adam and Eve sinned. There was an entity, an enemy was sent against marriage, against human beings, to really bring a lot of problems and confusion and darkness and animosity, XYZ. And so today I'm going to talk to you about really these negative forces and why are so many marriages, whether they are 40 years together, 20 years, 10 years, they're having so many problems. To begin with, marriage is an institution that was not instituted by man. Okay? Marriage is an institution that was instituted by the Creator for a reason and a purpose for that. Okay? So what happens? What happens? See, whether you are married or single, whether you are a man or a woman, every human being has a hunger to be fed, a thirst for affection that needs to be quenched, and a desire for attention and seeks satisfaction. All of us have an intense desire to be loved and nurtured. Expressing love and compassion for others benefits not just the person that you are giving it to, but the person who, yourself, the giver and the one that receives it, okay? But also the ones, both of them really are the ones that benefit from this. This is especially true in marriage. Because in marriage, it is the only relationship that the two become one. You do not become one with your children, with your mother, with your father. The only relationship that you become one is in marriage. Now, before I tell you about the negative forces of marriage, this person that you share everything with, that person is there with you because that person choose to. Okay? Not because you're using sentimental blackmail against them, but because your partner, your husband, your wife is happy to be with you. And anytime you desire or you want or you have a feeling or you have a mental feeling or you have a heart feeling that you literally are happy, you were going to arouse an enemy. And that enemy is an entity that you do not see. Because remember this, misery loves company. And there's no there's no greater union in a relationship as the union of marriage. This negative entity, which I am going to take you very soon to 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1, was placed in the beginning of creation when Adam and Eve sinned. And sin is not saying that I've done something, I made a mistake. Sin really is when we disobey the Creator. Just like children, when they disobey their father and their mother, consequences come from that. So what happened? See, because marriage is spiritual. Marriage is not something that is normal for human beings. That's why a lot of people make fun of marriage. They think it's voodoo and, has taken a bad rap. And it really is none of the above. And the reason many, including me a long time ago, I didn't understand what marriage was. I just thought that, you get married. Oh, I am going to be the happiest woman in the world because now I am in love with this man. This man marries me and we are going to be happily ever after until death sets us apart. Well, not. Because in marriage, there's no such thing as a marriage that you're constantly be thrown with petals, rose petals. It comes with a lot of thorns. And it's going to prick you, and it's going to hurt, and it's going and yes, so don't think that marriage is all whoopsie-doo. But the reason is we need to understand the purpose of marriage. It is spiritual. It is not something that is natural. This person that is in your life is for a reason. A happy marriage consists of two imperfect people who refuse to give up. But talking about the negative force, please go with me to the book of Genesis, chapter number 3, verse number 15. Now, something happened here because this is where marriage started. Marriage started from the Creator. Marriage started in the Bible. The Bible starts with marriage. But also, when Adam and Eve sinned, the Creator said, okay, you disobey me. I don't have a problem with that. But now I am going to send against you an enemy. Genesis chapter 3, verse number 15. Look at what it says. Now, this is the great I am, El Shaddai, speaking. He's speaking to the serpent. He's not speaking to a man or a woman, to Adam and Eve. He's speaking to the serpent. And look at what he says to him. And I will put an enmity between you and the woman, between her seed, between your seed and her seed. It shall bruise your head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Now, there is a force that was spoken by the Creator against, not because he caused us, we did. See, we think that because when we think that when we disobey laws, we disobey rules, we disobey our Creator, that we are not going to pay a consequence.
Yeah, don't pay your taxes.
My husband say, don't pay your taxes, see what happens.
Yeah, and everything will be all right. The UFOs will be looking for you.
The UFO is going to be looking for you, he says. Let me tell you this.
Yeah, right.
How is it possible that when you get married, you're so happy and go lucky, you feel like you're in the moon, you feel so good, and all of a sudden, after a couple of years, you don't understand what this, I don't understand what my husband is saying, and he doesn't understand what I'm saying. How is that? How can two people be speaking gibberish constantly to each other when they're married? And how did your marriage start? Well, in the book of Amos chapter 3, verse number 3. while you are looking for that, Amos chapter 3, verse 3. Now, marriage
Chapter 3, verse 3.
is only for two people. Marriage is not for extraterrestrial kind of deal person that's going to come in, whether it's your mother, your mother-in-law. No. Marriage. I'm speaking. Marriage starts between two people. Not three. Okay? In the book of Amos, it says, chapter 3, verse 3, can two walk together except they agree? Even though this is a prophecy. But I'm going to take it in marriage context. Can two walk together except they agree in marriage? And then in verse number 7 says, surely Yahweh Elohim will do nothing, but he will reveal his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. Marriage, to understand, has a secret. There is an enemy that's going to and from the earth, seeking who he may devour. Because the enemy, one of the things that he knows that is very powerful is that when you come in union with your spouse as one, there is power in unity. There is destruction when you are by yourself. In 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse number 1, look what it says. Now, biblically speaking, it says that we are living in the last days, correct?
Yeah.
It says in Timothy chapter 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. Now the Spirit says expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. The sister's looking at me. She's saying, what I'll explain. I will explain.
Okay.
Speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. Forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from meat, which Elohim has created to be received with thanksgiving, to them with belief to know the truth. For every creature of Elohim is good, and nothing to be refused, it be received in thanksgiving. So, now the Spirit says expressly that in the latter times, some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. Okay. There's a difference between hearing and listening.
Mm-hmm.
Marital problems, the number one marital problem is communication. Not listening, not being intuitively with a person that is you're married to. What are they saying? Hearing is something that we are born with. Listening is a skill that we must learn as we get older. For example, hearing is like when you put food in your mouth, you're chewing it. In other words, you're hearing different sounds and you're chewing it. Which listening is the digestion, okay, that you are receiving in your heart, in your spirit, and your soul, and you're feeling it. Now that is the powerful thing, okay. In the beginning, when the serpent came to the garden, he deceived Eve. And Eve believe him. But look at something that I found out this week when I was studying this, because most of us, if you believe in the Bible, you believe in, that God exists and all this, we have read this verse many, 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 many times. But please go with me again to the book of Genesis chapter 3, verse number 1. Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. Okay? Now, the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahweh Elohim had made, and he said unto the woman, yeah, has Elohim said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? It's right there. And you know what is amazing? That I have never seen it until what I'm going to tell you. I use the King James Version. But I also look in the what was it? The Living Word. And look at one word that is used today more than any day, any other time in history. It's the word, in here, it says Y-E, which means you. It has a Y. Look at this. You, Y-E, you shall not eat. Did he really say you should not eat of every tree of the garden? It's the word you.
Yeah, you.
You shall not.
It's not in little. It's not in little writing. The Y is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Today more than ever, you hear speakers, including me, okay, saying the word you. The serpent in the Garden of Eden, what he was doing was playing with word, and really the importance here is you, not the creator. That's why it has a big Y. A big Y, you. Now watch this. The serpent spoke, motivated, inspired the woman with the word you. You. He did not say Elohim or God. He says you. And it's got it's not little. It's not a little Y. It's a huge Y. Because today more than ever, you hear speakers talking about you. You are great. You are awesome. You are this. You are unstoppable. And if you look at all those words represents who he is, the creator. And you are all those things. Are you with me?
Yes.
But in our relationship,
That's good.
especially any relationship, but especially today I'm speaking about marriages, it's not about you. It's about the other person. And this is the problem that we are having in marriages today. Well, he doesn't do this to me. He doesn't do this. He's wrong. And you're pointing fingers, when in reality, the one that has to look at yourself, because there's something that you need to do in your marriage, in your relation, that you need to change. But what does these entities, what does these negative forces, these demons, really, that's because a lot of people don't want to, demon, that's a bad word. Ooh. Well, yeah, huh? And you can say all the bad words in the world, but you cannot say, no. These demonic forces, what happens is, the first place they come in is in a marriage. To separate, to divide, to bring confusion. And what happens with this, our children begin to see this, and we create what is called generational curses. It is unbelievable how the enemy works in marriages. In the beginning, Elohim said to Adam and Eve, you should not eat of that tree. It says, you shouldn't, if you do, when you do, you will surely die. But what happens, see, the way he uses the word you It's really saying, okay, you is in other words, he's teaching something. Okay? But the enemy, it uses verses in reverse, and what he's saying, you are important, which you are. There's nobody like you, and you. And today, look at today's anyone in the churches, motivational speakers, coaches, anyone. What is the one word they use the most? You. And you are important, and you should love yourself, and you are strong, and you're unstoppable. But what happens with this? It creates something wonderful inside of us that really to be in a marriage, you need to think about that person first, and that person needs to think about you. But what happens with these entities? What they come is to bring confusion. You no longer see that person that you're married to the same way. There's things that your partner or your husband and wife does that it bothers you. And things that are so tiny that is silly. Disobedient. Let me tell you this. Every cause will bring an effect. Every action will bring a reaction. And there's consequences to everything we do and we don't do. There's consequences to what we say and what we don't say. There's consequences what we think and what we don't think. Today, men and women are running amok because they want to do it their way. And I'm speaking in relationship, but see, there is an enemy, there is an entity, there is a negative force that's going to and from to destroy your family, to destroy your marriage, to destroy how you started in the beginning. Now, where does that come from? What the enemy started in the Garden of Eden is what we read in 1 Timothy, doctrines of demons. And what is that? You. You. And if you notice, very rare, hardly never, unless, you in a church or something, you don't hear, very rare, you don't hear the word God. You don't hear the word Yahweh. You don't hear the word Elohim. You don't hear the word Creator. You do, but very rare. It's only about you and you and you. Focus on you, focus on you, focus on you. And you should focus on you. And you should be motivated. And you should love yourself. But when you're in a relationship, let me tell you this. Especially a marriage relationship. A lot of people don't understand it. It's because you made a verbal commitments before you sign the piece of paper. Wow. Because marriage is spiritual and it is divine. And how is it that it's divine? It's because when you're married, you want to make that person, you want to feel that person something that is not human. You want to make that person divine love, divine joy, divine happiness. And if both of you, a husband and wife, that you don't come in agreement with this, you begin to have problems, and you begin to see each other as a nuisance. Because remember this started in the Garden of Eden. So what happened? What does that mean? This started in the Garden of Eden, and it went from one generation to the next generation, including your father, your mother, your grandparents, and look at how they raised you up. Not that they were bad, because they didn't know either. Because let me tell you, it's in your DNA. Wow. Okay? It is it is programmed in your subconscious. We all love our parents. Our parents did not know. Our grandparents did not know. But today, remember I told you that today he is revealing his secrets to the prophets?
Amen.
You can be a professional person. You can be an astronaut. You can be a lawyer. You can, whatever it is. But let me tell you, we always go to one thing: family. The importance of family, the importance of a marriage, the importance of a relationship, because that is what makes us as human. It makes us strong. It makes us feel that we belong. But when we don't have that, what happens? Watch this. Let me tell you what happens. Can two walk together in marriage if they don't come in agreement? Or if they're not in agreement? Walking together in a healthy relationship is about accepting each other's strength, flaws, imperfections, deficiencies, failures, and possibilities. You are completely embracing him or her as part of yourself forever, and you are rejecting all others. Why does this negative force is attacking marriages and families today? It's not attacking families or marriages today. It's done it from the beginning. Why? Because misery loves company.
Wow.
The enemy was with grace, had light, had love. He fell from that. And he can never have that.
Wow.
So the enemy sends, according to the Bible, which believe me, it does, he sends to marriage one spirit that is called divorce. Another spirit that is called adultery. Another spirit that is called abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, and many times sexual abuse.
Wow.
Can you walk together with your Creator if you don't come in agreement with Him?
No.
See, now this is a little different. He does not have flaws. He is not imperfect. He is not deficient. He doesn't fail. And he is lacking. He is not lacking possibilities. But we do. Especially in marriage. You are completely embracing Yahweh Elohim and part of yourself forever, and you are rejecting all other gods, including yourself, because there's people that are self-made gods, and they love themselves so much they are God. They think they are God. What do you do when you don't know what to do anymore in your marriage or in your in whatever it is that you're going through? What do? Do you run for the hills? Do you scream? Do you pretend that nothing is happening? Are you in denial? Or are you just wait for something to happen? What do? And I said it before, marriage is not always petals of roses that is thrown before you. Oh, genie of the lamp. Oh, you're going to be so happy. No. Let me tell you, but marriage also brings a lot of thorns along the way. And these thorns really are the negative forces that come against your happiness. How can you understand your spouse when you don't even understand who you are? Why are you pointing faults and fingers at the person and don't point fingers at yourself? Put yourself in your husband's or wife's shoes. How would you deal with somebody like yourself?
Wow.
What would you do? For a relationship to be healthy, we must see the other person in a different perspective to understand him or her. For things to change in our lives, we are the ones that have to change firsts. Every problem that you are right now, every problem that you are in right now has a root problem or a root cause. Somebody planted it there. The most frequent cause of conflicts that produce separation or divorces in couples is the erroneous interpretation of their prospective behaviors. In other words, the lack of understanding, the fact the males and females' brain responds differently in the same situation. When we get married, we're so happy we can't stand ourselves. Literally. But what happens a couple of years later? You start seeing things that bothers you of this person. Things that you didn't see before. Why is that? Because when you get married, you bring along a suitcase with unresolved problems that came from your childhood. These childhood problems came because your mother and your father also did not know, and they did it the same way as their grandparents, and it goes all the way to the Garden of Eden. We come to this world as infants with our spirits vulnerable and open. Our spirits are fragile and can be bruised as easily as a gardenia touched by a human breath. As we experience abuse, yelling, neglect, and other negative occurrences throughout our lives, our spirit begin to close and our little hearts begin to harden. We get married. In other words, all this, our hearts begins to get very hard. Abuse hurts physically, spiritually, mentally. The scars are not just physical. Abuse scars, what happens is it scars your soul. And this is what these entities want to do, to scar your soul. Most of us have experienced some kind of abuse because for many years, parents were not held responsible for their behavior. We wrongly learn as children that it's not safe to feel negative emotions of fear. Now watch this. Negative emotions, look at this. Anger, fear, loss, and grief. And all these do not come from God. This negative force, these demons there's a demon called, or negative force called anger. Fear. It does not come from Elohim. It comes from the enemy that was put in the Garden of Eden a long time ago. And how he places there is when we are children.
Whoa.
Excuse me?
He places anger in us when we're children?
Yes. She says, he placed anger when we were children? Yes. If your father or mother abused you physically, constantly, don't you think that you are going to have anger as you're an adult if you don't get that result? Mm-hmm. Now, do you understand that negative force? The negative force was placed when we are children. Some of you have gotten raped by your own father. Mm-hmm. Wow. Some of you had a controlling mother, especially because, see, mothers raise boys, and father raised the little girl. And a lot of men are mama's boys because at one time the mother will say to him, she's no good, this and that, and then he becomes a mama's boy, but not really. He becomes, what was it is? Emotionally incest by the mother. Not knowing. And what happens is all these start when we are children. We grow up because we didn't know any better. Our parents didn't know any better. Our grandparents didn't know any better because it was not taught, but it's taught to the age. What happens is we grow, we get married, and we bring this suitcase of a lot of problems, that unresolved problems, to the marriage. Thinking that this relationship, I'm so happy that he or she is going to take care of me, and I'm going to feel so happy go lucky. And what happens as you continue to be in this relationship and marriage? What happens? It starts surfacing. The little child begins to surface. These demonic forces have done this from the beginning. And they do this even when we are in the womb of our mothers. A controlling mother, a drill sergeant father, a loving parents. Whatever you experienced from the time you were born to the time you were 7 years old, you are going to manifest in your relationship. So the serpent said, you're not going to die. Who told you you're going to die? With a big U. It says that in the last days, we are going to see many doctrines, many lying spirits. They're going to lie about the word, about marriage, about relationship, about boys, about girls, about a lot of things. And because since many of us have itching ears to hear because it sounds good, it makes us feel good, since we want to heal, and we are so desperate, let me tell you what happens. We will hear any Tom, Dick, and Harry, any Susie Q, any Wilma Flintstone, we will hear them because it makes us feel good, and you should feel good. But yet, the hurt is still there. The pain is still there. The resentment is still there, because this is the negative force that I'm talking about, that is going to and from the earth, seeking whom he may devour. Yeshua said that he saw the wheat. He put the seed and the wheat came out. But also the enemy came when many were asleep, and he sowed tares. Things that are happening in your life, things that you have not dealt with, many are in denial, many are covering. What's happening is that comes from your childhood. And these entities, this negative force, knows this because misery loves company. Most speakers today are saying constantly, more than ever in history, the word you. When have you ever heard the word you like never before? When? Never. Because before you will hear a lot the word Yahweh, Elohim, God, El Shaddai. And then, I'm even going to take it to a step further. No, because the universe is going to give you. The universe doesn't give me anything. What gives me is the Creator. Because we need to give credit where credit is due. The earth. The universe did not create me. The Creator created me. And what's happening is that we're going back and we are worshiping the creature more than we are worshiping the Creator. And the devil is a liar, and Yeshua is still the Messiah. Marriage is divine. Family is divine. And when we don't understand this in marriage, what happens is, because we were not taught, we begin to go outside, and the first thing you're going to do is, as long as somebody hears me, the next step is going to have sex. And then there's sex, but then you're getting close to somebody, then not only you having sex, they got problems too. Because that didn't resolve their issues. So now you have your husband, your wife, your children, that now you're abandoning, or you say, you know what, I'm just going to have extramarital affair, this and that. But guess who's involved in this? Do you think it's man? No, it's the devil. And you don't want to hear this. No, it's the enemy.
Twinkle toes and stuff.
Because he is the prince of the power of the air.
Wow.
You matter. You are great. You are beautiful. You are divine. You are strong. You are unstoppable. You are awesome. You are undoubtedly rich. But if you look at all these words, great, awesome, they all come from who he is. Because he made us in his image and his likeness. And why am I talking and why am I saying this? Because I too, at one time, my husband and I were divorced for 3 months. Not knowing, and I will blame him, he will blame me, because immaturity, that's another thing in marriage, immaturity. Then allowing his mother and my mother get into our marriage, and it brought problems. But see, what conquers everything is love. When your love handle, when your love emotion is really high, let me tell you, no stress, no anger, no confusion, no divorce, no nothing that is negative will come against you. Because let me tell you, love comes from him. And that is when you are married and the two become one, is when you meet your maker. And what happens is your life becomes so powerfully that the enemy cannot stand your light. It cannot stand that you are completely as one. Today, what is attacked the most is marriage. It's not children, it's marriage. Because the marriage, it is the instruction, it is the pillar, it is the foundation of what a family is. And what better way to destroy that man and that woman? When we're little, and we go through pains of abuse of some kind when we're little, we wrongly learn as children that it is not safe to feel negative emotions like anger, fear, loss, grief. And so we learn to stop feeling them. We become neurotic by turning off these emotions to the degree that we do not feel them at all. What do I mean turning off the emotion? Researchers have shown that suppressing your emotions pretty well shuts down communication within that relationship. When we deny our feelings, our spouse probably gets tense because our faces show our affections way faster than any reasonable part of our brain. And what happens is our brain shuts down. And when you begin to communicate with your spouse, and my husband begins to ask me, what's wrong? Nothing, I'm okay. Because I'm going back when I was little, shutting down of the abuse I had and being quiet. This is the demonic forces. This is the entity inside of us that we have not been healed yet. Your spouse also knows that when you are shutting him or her out, when your spouse cannot read your signals, they cannot predict your behavior. You say one thing, but your spouse sees another. It makes sense that they get tight. Probably this uncertainty puts both of you off balance and adds the possibility that the communication or even the whole evening will go sour. And one of the major things in a relationship is not love, it's communication. It's communication, it's listening. That is so important. Men and women think completely different. We are wired different. He's saying blue and you're saying green. He's saying yes, you say no. They're both speaking the same thing, but they're both understanding each other in different ways. In a marriage, there can only be two people and one creator. There cannot be a negative force. There cannot be a negative person. There cannot be a negative, because you will have problems. And if in your childhood there was some kind of abuse and you brought it, and you grew up, you became an adult and you brought it to your marriage, you will have problems not only with this marriage, you will have with the other marriage that you will get involved with. Marital problems. Look at this, problems. The Creator doesn't bring problems, we do. The one that brings problems is the prince of the power of the air. Marital problems are usually resounding echoes from childhood. Our marriage often reflects the hurts and disappointments that we experienced when we were children. Because we judge our parents for their trouble, we are doomed to reap similar trouble as adults until we are healed. How does a childhood memories affect married couples? How? Many marriages in their relationship are affected by the memories of childhood. The experiences of the little girl and the experiences of the little boy lived during their childhood create habits and behaviors that affect life with respect to marital relationship, friendship, and work, and could create troubles or of disorientation of family responsibilities. Marriage are having problems today because men, husbands and wives, do not understand their responsibility. And this was put inside of us a long time ago when we were children. This was put inside of our parents a long time ago when they were children. You see how the pattern works? It goes from one generation to the next generation. And how do we get healed? Please go with me to the book of Revelation, chapter 18. Every book that has been written, including science, has come from the Bible. There is not every year the book that sells the most is the Bible. Out of all the books that they sell, even the bestseller, because they all come from the Bible. But what is happening today is that we are giving too much honor to men instead of giving honor to the Creator. That's why we have so many problems in our lives. And now we are seeking We are seeking healing. We are seeking to be healed, we want to feel good. And you should feel good. And you should love yourself. But see, you can love all yourself all you want, but if you haven't been healed, nothing will happen. Because until you get rid of that hurt, until you get rid of that root problem that has been bothering you for such a long time, you can feel the best there is. You can go to the moon and back anytime you want to. But when that root problem is still there, it will cause you pain. Even if you are in denial, and even if you say, well, you know what, this is okay, you're still not healed. Healing is a process. Healing is very important in any relationship. Look at what it says in Revelation chapter 18, verse number 1. And after these days I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitations of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations, means every single human being, have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth have waxed rich through the abundance of delicacy. And look at how you do this. Verse number 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that you may make partakers of her sins, and that you receive not her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Elohim has remembered her iniquities. While Elohim has joined, no one can separate. How do you get rid of these negative forces that has been placed in your life since you were a child? How? Because every action, and I already said it, every action has a consequence, whether it's negative or positive. Okay? There's always a cause and an effect to every situation. What happens when children don't listen to their mother and father? What happens? Come on, can somebody tell? What happens?
You get in trouble.
You get in trouble. Okay, that's a good one. You get in trouble. What kind of trouble?
Trouble at school.
From the school. Okay. You get in trouble. Let me tell you, you're right, from the school. But it even gets deeper than that. When children don't listen to their mother and father, they will get in a trouble they're not used to. And they will get in a trouble that they don't know nothing about. They will go into difficulty and worries and anxieties and stress and harassment and bullying and problems and adversity and suffering and unhappiness. And this is a lot of negative stuff. Because every cause has an effect. Trials, vexation, annoyance, unpleasantness, trauma, pain. Well, you know the rest. Sadness, misery, traumas, and torment. Well, did you know that just as children don't obey their father and mother, it will bring trouble to their lives? The same thing happens when we don't obey our Father in heaven. Mm-hmm. Everything that I already spoken to you, it will happen to us. And what happens is when we get adult, when we are adults and we get married, we feel something is not right in our lives, and that's why we are not happy in our marriage. I love this person, but there's something not happy. I want to get rid of this. when you understand who you are, where you come from, who created you, what is marriage all about, what is the purpose of family, what is the purpose of the Creator, what is the purpose of being a creation, you have the rights and you have the will to get rid of what is bothering you when you take it in His presence. Romans 1:25. See, everything happens for a reason. Do you all believe this?
Yes. Wow.
Look at what it says in Romans 1:25.
Wow.
Now, this is going back in the Garden of Eden. And we have what is called an Adamic nature. Verse 24. Wherefore Elohim also... No. 23. 22. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. And changed the glory of the uncorruptible Elohim into the image made like a corruptible man, and to birds, and to four-footed beasts, and creeping things. Wherefore Elohim also gave them up to uncleanness, to the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor of their own bodies between themselves. Who changed the truth of Elohim into lie, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator. Who is blessed forever and ever. Amen.
Who's the creature in verse 25?
Mankind. In verse 25, he says that we changed the truth of Elohim, or Yahweh, into lies, and worship and serve the creature. The creature is Satan himself. And what he uses mankind. He uses mankind to always play words, games with words, just like he did in the Garden of Eden. They worship the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever and ever. Amen. Creature and Creator both start with C. But one has a big C, it's the Creator, and the little one has a small c. And this is the problem that we're having today. In marriages, we're having problems with relationship, we're having problems with family, we're having problems with other human beings, including even our faith. And guess who's involved?
Twinkle toe.
The enemy. Twinkle toe. The enemy.
Twinkle toe.
People are seeking today, look at this, coaches, and I'm one of them, therapists, psychologists, motivational speaker, Eastern philosophy, religion, New Age.
Meditation.
But very few are really seeking the source of everything, the Creator.
They can't. They like this too much.
The Creator.
They can't.
Many are called and few are chosen. He gave Adam and Eve in the beginning a choice. That is all we have. We have one choice. That's it. That is the will that we have. We have one choice. Either we live in our marriage like heaven's supposed to live and bring it down here, or we choose to bring hell in the earth in our marriage. You cannot live in two worlds. You cannot bring heaven and earth. You cannot bring heaven and hell into your marriage. It's either a hell or it's either a heaven. You cannot have both.
Wow.
And this is what these entities are doing in today's time. It is so huge that people today get married, and instead of having a beautiful celebration, they begin to entertain people. And the more expensive they do, and the more expensive their dress is, the more entertainment they're going to, because they want this entertaining. Now there's a thing called, I think it's called Bridezilla. How can a woman that is about to get married, she's going to be called Bridezilla?
Right.
Yeah, like Godzilla, but they call it Bridezilla.
Yeah.
Oh, I want this and I want my... You know what? What are you? Are you going to be on stage? So you're going to perform for people because you're getting married and you want everything to be perfect? There's no such thing. It's a celebration. It's happiness. You enter into a union, a divine union, a divine love, a divine happiness. And from that union comes your children. And yes, you are imperfect. He's imperfect. But that love that unites us together. And it's awesome. My husband and I, we were married for 41 years. We have had, and I said this before, we have had our ups, a lot of ups, and very little downs. And guess what kept us together? It was our love and the Creator, Yahweh, in our life. Being the first. What is your role? What is your understanding? How do I think? How does he think? But what happens when we begin to detour in our marriage and start seeking things, okay? Maybe paying more attention to television, to the computer, to the cell. Maybe, the girls go out more and then, they don't pay attention to their husband. Any little thing you do is going to bother you. But it wasn't like that from the beginning. But there's a devil loose, and Yeshua is still the Messiah. And that is the one thing that he wants to destroy. Because these are things that we need to heal from our youth, from when we were little. I don't have much time. Listen, this is a very intense, it's a very powerful message because it's talking about marriage. Living together and being married are two different things. In marriage, there is a commitment. Not that if you live together or if you're married, if you're married, you're not going to love this person more. You're going to love them the same. But in marriage, there's a commitment. There's a contract. Not written contract. Verbal, I take you. And now they got their own, you get married and they say, well, I love you so much and you're the best thing. You know what? Leave that for when you go to eat. You're going to celebrate. What is this? When you say I do is spiritual. People witnessing, saying I do. Say it before the Most High. I do. And then what? Because, I don't want to be married to this woman because you know what? I don't like to be married for the same woman. Really?
I fell in love.
Really? Really? The reason you're having problems with your marriage is because you don't understand who you are. You don't understand your wife. You don't understand how you think. You don't understand how she thinks. Okay? And this is the main problem in marriages today. I got so much to tell you, but I don't have time. Marriage starts with love and commitment. In reality, it really doesn't start with love. It starts with commitment. Love is an action, not an emotion. You choose to love. Really, of course, you feel good and all that stuff. You don't get married for love. You get married because it is the right thing to do. Love has nothing to do with marriage because before you get married, you are already in love with this person. Love is a choice. You choose to give to another. Listen very carefully because I got to go. Reality is, all eyes should not be on you. All eyes should be on the Creator. He's got the answer to everything. There's so much that I really need to tell you about marriage and this entity. For you to be happy in your marriage, the very first thing you need to do is appreciate the person that you married. There's no other person like this person. And begin to have an appreciated heart. Wake up every morning and thank Him that He gave you life. Thank Him that you can see. Thank Him that you have hands and feet. Thank Him that you can think. See, when you start thanking him for really the little things that you do have, which are big things, then you're going to appreciate the person that you're living with. And what happens is, as you do this, the troubles begin to disappear. Because you know what? You're no longer thinking about you. Well, she is at fault or he is at fault, and I don't like what she says, and I don't like what he says. You don't do this anymore. You begin to see in a different light. When you have a thankful heart, you begin your happiness. It begins to go up like a thermometer, okay? Don't expect for her or him to do something to better. Do it yourself. Some people it's okay to be unhappy and they want to be miserable. Well, that's their problem. Do you want somebody like that in your life? I don't want somebody like that. Misery? I don't want that. You want to be miserable? That's your problem. But I don't want that. Happiness, when you do this, happiness does not drain your energy. It adds more. Have you ever asked anybody that was positive, let's go fishing? He says, well, let's go. Have you ever asked anybody that's negative? Oh no, I'm too tired, I'm going to go home. Happy people are energetic and ambitious. There's never enough time or everything they want to do. This is how your marriage should be, even though you have little things here and there. Happiness is optional. This is misconception. If I want to be depressed, that's my own problem. To begin appreciating life, pinpoint some things you are extremely hateful for and count that every morning for 1 month. Your eyes, your hands, your children, your cats, the air you breathe. Set aside time, day, to complement these pleasures. Feel gratitude for them. This exercise can change the mood of even the most miserable among us. For instance, the next time you visit, never mind, I'm not going to say that. Listen very carefully. What is your priority in your marriage and life? If you become an expert in appreciating, make a list of the value of what you value. Your hands, your feet, your husband, your wife, your ears, your eyes, your sense of taste, your circulation. When you begin to appreciate little things like that, you will understand your husband and wife better. You will understand and communicate better with your Creator. You will have a better relationship. And what is bothering you, you begin to get healing. Okay? Happiness is an energy and a power for living. And these negative forces don't want that, because misery loves company. Focus on what you have and you will be happy. Focus on what you don't have and you will be miserable. Happiness is not a goal in life. It is the means to tap into the inner energy in order to accomplish your potential. Happy people are healthy, optimistic, and have more driving force to achieve. Happiness is not living in a state of semi-depression. That's mere survival. Happiness is in your control. By not controlling it, you are a slave to your emotions. Happiness requires discipline, determination, and hard work. Happiness is not a happening. Don't wait for happiness to happen. Go out and create it. From First Yahudin Messianic Temple, Maria Simpson. Until next time.